Today I'm going to talk about some general rule of the chapter 5 of the International Taxation Adjustment Law, which covers the Article 60 to 65. Basically, the entities subject to application of this chapter 5 is actually applied to constituent entities that are members of a MNE, multinational enterprise group, in the relevant business year, if the revenue on the consolidated financial statement of the UPE, ultimate parent entity of a MNE group, in at least 2 business years out of 4 business years immediately preceding each business year, which has reflected the adjustment prescribed by a presidential decree, such as addition of profits accrued from ordinary business activities, which are separately indicated in the consolidated financial statement of UPE, are at least 750 million euro. So what is important is the amount of revenue of the group. For instance, this year is 25. We wanna take care of the global minimum tax for the year fiscal year 25. Then the preceding 4 years, which means X1, X2, X3, X4, and X5, and then the four fiscal years. The amount for more than two or more business years revenue exceeds 750 million euro. In this case, this group will apply to the global minimum tax. Global minimum tax based on Chapter 5 of the Korea International Tax Law. Okay. And then, in some cases, this rule will be excluded to the entities, 7 entities. Number 1 is the governmental entity. Number 2 is international organization. Number 3, non-profit organization. Number 4, pension fund. Number 5, investment fund. Number 6, real estate investment vehicle. Number 7 is any entity where these 6 from governmental entity to real estate investment vehicle have almost every share of a certain company, which means that of course this is not a private company, private owning activity, so it will be excluded from global minimum tax. Government, international organization, and non-profit, and pension fund, and investment fund, and real estate fund, etc. These companies, this entity have a share of a certain entity A. It has 85%, 95%. In that case, this will also be included into this group. It will be excluded from global minimum tax. And Article 63 mentioned about some allocation of Korea entity, which means that a constituent entity that is in the same MNE group and located in the Republic of Korea shall be liable to pay as a corporate tax the top-up tax allocated to local constituent entity under Article 73. So this means that in Article 73 of this Act prescribe about the computation of additional tax to be paid by Korea entity. So this means that if a Korea subsidiary of a branch office, which is totally called Korea entity, fall into a certain category, then under the Article 73, this Korea entity will have the additional tax to be paid to the Korea tax office as a corporation tax. When this will apply and how much this amount will be computed will be mentioned in Article 73. I will explain it later. And also the location of an entity. This means that if Korea has any entity, a foreign company has an entity in Korea, Korea entity, and actually this entity has a substantial location in Korea whose income are deemed attributable to here in Korea. In that case, there is mentioned as a place of management, place of establishment, etc. Then that country, Korea, will be the location of that business entity. And number two is, if this is not real, it's not clear whether this has a substantial and effective management place here in Korea, then the registration of Korea entity will be used to judge the location of a entity. So number one and number two is used. Number one is regardless of the registration, if a certain entity in Korea is actually functioning as a real practical management place, then that can be deemed as a Korea entity regardless of its registration in Korea. But if number one is not clear, then the registration entity, the court registration will be the criteria to determine the location of a company. So this is basically preliminary and very elementary item of this chapter 5, global minimum tax, which is newly adopted to the Korea Adjustment of International Tax Act. And at the next stage, I will mention about what is the real content of this chapter 5. Thank you.